Okay, so our speaker today is Caila Yates. So she is a registered dietitian and passionate about helping people of all ages get excited about food and cooking. And she wants to make it as accessible as possible. Having worked for a community farm in Brooklyn, New York, she enjoys incorporating seasonal fruits and vegetables into meals in a creative way. Now, she works at Newton-Wellesley Hospital and teaches people how to use food to treat and prevent chronic conditions such as heart disease and diabetes. When she's not working, she is outside as much as possible, whether it's hiking, running on the Charles, or skiing. So Caila, thank you so much for being our speaker today, and I'm going to hand the mic and screen over to you.
All right, so can everyone hear me okay? All
Yes.
good? All right, awesome. So yeah, like Jay said, my name is Caila, and as you can tell, I'm in a hospital right now at work by all of the hospital surroundings here. So sorry about this. I'm just gonna share my screen here so that you guys can all see this presentation today. All right, and we can all see that okay?
Yes, we can, Caila.
Okay, perfect. Just making sure. All right. So without further ado, we'll dive right in. Thank you guys again for being here. I'm very excited to talk to you all. And like Jay said, if you have any questions, just jot them into the chat box and we can certainly address them at the end. But this is kind of the agenda for the day that we're going to go through. So just a couple of points that we're going to hit on. First, we're going to go over just the basics of a healthy plate, what your plate should look like at every meal, and even some snacks. We'll kind of talk about some special considerations that you should take into account as you age. So just some things to keep on your radar. We'll talk about smart snacking. Snacking is very important to our diet, so we'll talk about the best way that you can do that. We'll go through some pantry essentials, so kind of things that you should just keep in your kitchen and pantry all the time that will lend themselves to some really great balanced recipes. Can also help you grocery shop a little bit less because nobody likes going to the grocery store. So if we can make you guys do that sort of the least amount possible, that would be great. We'll go through some recipes, some really simple, just minimal ingredient recipes that are pretty easy to do at home. And we'll also talk about some recipe modifications to make, to make these recipes as heart healthy as possible and kind of take into account healthy fats, proteins, things like that, just to optimize the nutrition of every recipe that you look at. There's some really easy swaps that you can make just to make those recipes kind of suit your needs a little bit more. And then of course, at the end, we will go through some question and answers. I did send out a survey before this presentation a few weeks ago. So thank you so much to everybody who responded. I tried to incorporate all of your requests into the presentation and answer some of your questions. So hopefully everybody's questions are answered for the most part, but we will go through and just get started, okay? All right, so first off is building a healthy plate. This is just going to be the foundation of all of your meals, kind of a formula to follow for every plate that you create. So this is what a healthy plate should look like. It's got 3 components for the most part. We have protein, which is, eggs, meat, beans, any kind of dairy, so milk or cheese, tofu, fish, legumes, chickpeas, things like that. Those all fall into the protein category. And we'll also go through what the role of each of these things are as well and how they sort of play a role in your body and can keep your heart and mind very healthy. The next thing is grains. So anything that's rice, pasta, potatoes, even corn and winter and summer squash can be considered a grain and a starch as well. And then of course, half of your plate should be about it should be about half. Fruits or vegetables. So any way that you like them, especially if they're from, you know, the Newton Community Farm, they're even better. So half of your plate should be fruits or vegetables. So protein should be about a quarter of each plate. And the main role of protein is really to kind of make your meal last. So without protein, you know, your meal, if it's just carbs and vegetables, might last you an hour, maybe two, but those things are digested pretty quickly. Whereas protein lasts a little bit longer in your body and will give you energy for about 3 or 4 hours. So it's really important to have that protein in there to just kind of prolong your satiety and just to keep you full a little longer. They pack about 7 grams of protein per ounce. So if you have a 3-ounce piece of chicken or fish, which is usually about the size of your palm, that's going to be, you know, 21 grams of protein right there. And the average person, especially who are 50 or 65 or above, is going to be about 70 grams a day. So if you can do 3 ounces of a protein source at each meal, you get really close to that. They're also building blocks for lean muscle. And as we age, you know, our body composition kind of changes a little bit and we tend to lose some of that muscle. And so that can make you, you know, it's harder to be active without lean muscle. It's harder to be independent. So it's really important to make sure that you're hitting your protein needs as much as possible just to keep that muscle and to keep that sort of active lifestyle that you like to live. All right, for grains and starchy vegetables, again, it should be, this should be about a quarter of a plate as well. This is your main source of energy. I know that a lot of times in the news and articles, carbs get a really bad rep. You know, people hate on the carbs all the time, unfortunately, but they really are your main source of energy. They're broken down very quickly in your body for energy. Your brain alone needs more than 100 grams of carbohydrates a day just to function properly. So if you don't have those carbohydrates, you know, you might feel a little foggy, a little tired, a little shaky, especially for those of you who are trying to watch your blood sugars, maybe on the verge of diabetes, watching your hemoglobin A1C, which is a measure of your blood glucose. Super important to have grains at every meal and snack, because having those at every meal and snack is going to keep your blood sugars stable throughout the day. We don't want to see any peaks or valleys, any spikes in your blood sugar. So having those at every meal and snack is going to kind of keep your blood sugars stable throughout the day. So definitely something to think about just moving forward, especially if you're somebody who is watching their blood sugars or has ever been told to watch your blood sugars. It's one of the easiest things you can do is just have rice or a grain at every meal. Again, with grains and starchy veggies, we get a lot of fiber, and fiber is awesome for our GI tract and our digestion. So fiber kind of pulls water into the gut and it helps things move through our guts sort of smoothly. So if you're somebody who has trouble going to the bathroom, fiber is a really great thing to incorporate into your diet. So the easiest way to do that is, you know, getting those whole grains into your diet. So those are things like whole grain bread, brown rice, oats, quinoa, things like that. Those are all whole grains and definitely going to help keep you regular. All right. And then also, if you don't do whole grains every time, no worries. White grains have a place too, and I love them. So if you can just do more than half the time, choose whole grains, that's perfect. And you'll definitely meet your fiber needs through the day. All right, healthy fats. Definitely a very important part of our plate as well. It kind of helps us absorb all of the vitamins that we need. Vitamins A, D, E, and K are all things that are stored in our body in fat. So if we aren't getting those fat soluble, or if we aren't getting those healthy fats in meals, we might see some just sort of vitamin deficiency, especially we see a lot of vitamin D deficiency because we live in Boston and there's not a lot of sunlight. So as much as we can absorb that vitamin D, it's going to be really important. So making sure that we get those healthy fats to help us do that. And those are things like olive oil, any sort of oil that's liquid at room temperature is going to be the most heart healthy, because those are what we call mono and polyunsaturated fats, meaning that they are broken down the most easily in the body. So that's going to help your heart sort of just keep pumping, and it's going to keep your arteries clear. If you're having a lot of saturated fats, trans fats, things like that, those things are harder to break down in the body. So they might, kind of eventually over time sort of clog up your arteries and your veins. So definitely one of the most important pieces of a heart healthy diet is making sure that we get those mono and polyunsaturated fats. So you can look for unsaturated fats on any food label. Every food label goes through saturated fats as well as unsaturated fats. So you can look on there and kind of differentiate. So again, that's any kind of olive oil, vegetable oil, avocado oil, or just avocados, as well as nuts and seeds are things that we want to look for healthy fats. And then fruits and vegetables, of course, we got to add some color to the plate. So this helps us add volume to meals. Again, it's a really awesome source of fiber. So again, to keep you kind of regular and keep you full as well. So adding that volume to your plate is going to help keep you full. The more color on the plate, the more vitamins and minerals that you're getting, and the better it's going to be for you overall. So aim for 5 cups a day of either fruits or vegetables, or 2.5 cups of cooked vegetables, because they kind of shrink down. So 2.5 cups cooked vegetables, 5 cups of raw vegetables. All right, and then on the same vein of fruits and vegetables, frozen or canned vegetables, awesome. I use them all the time. This is one of the easiest ways that we can grocery shop a little bit less and make our grocery haul go a little further. A lot of people think that frozen and canned vegetables lose some of their nutritive value as they're frozen and canned, but that's actually not the case. A lot of times when you're eating frozen or canned fruits and veggies, a lot of times they're fresher than when you have fresh fruits and veggies, because they were picked at their peak freshness and then frozen or canned right there on the spot. So when you take them out and cook them, you're actually getting all of the nutrition that you would from any fresh vegetable. Okay, so don't be afraid of getting those. The only thing to look out for is in canned things. A lot of times they're packed in liquids, and those liquids can either be pretty high in salt or pretty high in syrup. So if you're getting fruits, a lot of times they're packed in a lot of sugar. So you want to look for those things that are packed in water or their own juice. So if you see 100% juice, you know that there's no added sugar there. Again, super important for if you're watching your blood sugar. And then we want to get any kind of canned vegetable that is no added salt. That's going to be important for, avoiding salt as much as you can is another great way to look out for your heart. But of course, we love our fresh fruits and veggies too. So the only thing is, if you buy those at the store, try to use those first, because they're going to spoil first. So if you're making a meal plan for the week or anything like that, just be sure to use them up sort of at the beginning of the week. Okay, so we'll talk about some snacks. Again, snacks can certainly help control appetite. If we go too long without eating, we end up getting a little hangry. I don't know about you guys, but I certainly get a little hangry if I go too long without eating. I can get a little shaky, a little tired. It's hard to concentrate. So snacks can certainly help with all of those things. They can help you meet your nutrient needs. So if you're finding that you are losing weight unintentionally, which is something that we see a lot of times in a senior population, if you're finding that you're losing weight, be sure that you're getting your snacks, and be sure that you're getting, eating every 2 to 3 hours, because that can really help you not only not be hungry throughout the day, but it can also certainly help with meeting your protein and energy needs as well. So the things that make a complete snack is a carbohydrate and a protein. So not just one or the other, but having both of those things together can make your snack go a little further. If you have carbohydrates, a lot of times they're broken down in the body in about 30 minutes. You might feel hungry pretty soon after that. If you have a protein and a carbohydrate as a snack, it'll likely last you for about an hour or two. So if it's 3 o'clock and you're not eating dinner for another couple hours, that's a great time to go ahead and have a protein and a carbohydrate snack. So here are some of my favorite combinations for snacks. A lot of these things I pack for work or just have on hand at home. So on the left side here, you'll see all of the protein part of the snack. So it's peanut butter, yogurt, cheese, and then on the right side, you'll see my carbohydrate example that can go with those. So, apples, Cheerios, crackers, things like that. Same thing, here's some other combinations, both sweet and savory. I'm personally a sweets person and I could eat sweets all day long. So one of my favorite things is having nuts and dried fruit together. And it's kind of like just a handful of those will keep me going for like another hour. So can be really helpful. Hummus is another great one. I love these tuna packets that you can get at the store. They don't even need to be refrigerated or anything, but they have a ton of protein in them, awesome healthy fats from the fish, and pairing those with crackers or celery or something like that is one of my favorite things to have on the go. If you guys have any other snack ideas or things that you really enjoy, certainly put them in the box to share with everyone else. And, I like to hear new snack ideas too. So if you have anything that you guys are thinking of, then just put it in the chat box and we can see if there's any ones that people haven't heard of before. All right, so kitchen essentials and recipes. Let's see. So like I said, these things can really help you not have to go to the grocery store as often. And not only that, but they can, they don't really have an expiration date that's very short. So you can keep them for a long time. They're oftentimes things that you have in your pantry and kitchen anyway. So there are tons of recipes that you can kind of mix and match these things that we're going to talk about with. And then I know a lot of you guys are cooking for maybe just yourself, maybe just you and a significant other, probably less people than you have in the past. So I know sometimes it can be not super motivating to just cook for yourself. I know it's not for me either. I'll oftentimes have a bowl of cereal at night if I'm just cooking for myself. So these are some things that if you have them on hand, you can make a really quick meal, whether it's just for yourself or you're making a big batch for friends, neighbors, whatever else. So to go through some of the best protein things to have on hand are like a frozen chicken breast. Like I always get bags of frozen chicken breasts at the grocery store. If you let them thaw out in your fridge, it's usually the best way to do it for about a day. Even if you stick one in a marinade or something, those can be really great and they taste just as good as a fresh chicken breast. Again, kind of goes with the same thing we were talking about with fruits and veggies. They are frozen when they're fresh. So when you go to use them, they're going to be just as good and just as nutritious as a fresh chicken breast. Rotisserie chickens are a lifesaver sometimes. They're great to just grab one and you can kind of eat it throughout the week and use it in various recipes, whether you shred it or, just cut off the breast and have that with a dinner. Those can be great and oftentimes they're very affordable as well. Frozen chicken or turkey meatballs, if you're somebody who really likes pasta or something like that, those are a really great thing to have on hand. Canned beans, of course, those are, great for a rainy day. Just make sure that you're getting the ones, like I said, with no salt added. cheese and Greek yogurt as well. These are things that pack a lot of protein in them, and you can use them in tons of different recipes, which we'll kind of talk about in a second. For starches, I always like to have pasta, rice on hand, even if you do, frozen bags of rice, those can be a really easy thing to have on hand and just heat up. Bread, I like to keep mine out on the counter, keep it fresh, and then when it starts, it's been 4 or 5 days, I can't often finish a loaf by myself in a week. I have a hard time doing that. So I always throw it in the freezer and can always pop it in the toaster whenever I'm ready to eat it. Pita or flatbreads, and then potatoes, of course, have a very long shelf life. And additionally, some of my favorite things to keep around are olive oil. Again, we're getting that healthy fat from the olive oil, pesto, marinara sauce to get, your veggies in, but in sauce form, soy sauce, salsa, peanut butter, and then frozen fruits and veggies, like I said. So you can kind of have all of these things on hand as long as you have a few of these things. A lot of times you can mix and match and make meals out of anything that you have on hand, even if it's just going to be a small thing or a small stir fry for just yourself. Totally easy to do, and just then you don't have to go to the store. So I got a couple of recipes here that are just super simple, using pretty much only things that were on that list that I just showed you. So as long as you have those things on hand, this is one of those things that you can whip up in about 20 minutes. So this is an Asian stir fry with some peanut sauce. So you take a cup of cooked brown rice, or if you have a frozen bag of rice or a bag of rice, just heat it up and there you go. Half a cup of chicken breast, just cut into cubes, or you could use your rotisserie chicken if you got one that week. Some olive oil, stir fry, or you can use frozen vegetables here. And then for a sauce, this is one of my favorite sauces to whip up. It's just a peanut sauce that's a little bit Asian inspired. So it's got peanut butter, which is a great healthy fat and protein source for you, soy sauce, maple syrup, lime juice, and then just a little bit of water. So all you do is you just take the brown rice, cook it. If it's a day old, it's even better for stir fries. So even if at the beginning of the week you make yourself a big batch of cooked rice and have it in the fridge, you can use it for tons of different recipes throughout the week. So that's one of my favorite things to do, is just have a big thing of rice on hand. So having brown rice, and then just cook up your chicken breast. It should only take about 5 minutes, just until it's about almost cooked. Add in your frozen veggies to the pan. And then while those are kind of cooking down and de-thawing, you can make the sauce, which usually takes me less than 5 minutes. So you take the peanut butter, soy sauce, maple syrup, lime juice, and stir it all together. And I know that sounds like a really weird combination, but I promise you it's so good. It kind of tastes like pad thai or like Chinese takeout or something. It's delicious. And then if you just add some warm water to that and get it to the consistency that you like, really easy to just then pour over the chicken and veggies and stir it up to combine those. And all together, that should take you about less than 20 minutes, and you got yourself a meal packed with protein, whole grains, and some veggies. Another one of my favorites is stuffed peppers. So I know summer's coming around, it's going to be pepper season. So if you just take 2 big bell peppers, cut them in half, take that brown rice, maybe you have it from the beginning of the week, combine it with a can of beans. Beans and rice put together make a complete protein. So you're getting a ton of protein out of the brown rice and black beans. And then stir it all together. I guess I should go to the next page to tell you a little more. Just pop those peppers into the oven, let them cook for a little bit, get soft and toasty. And then add the rice and bean combo into the pepper. Sprinkle some cheese on top. Throw them back in the oven. Take them out when the cheese is melted, should be about 5 minutes. And then you can top it with any other kinds of toppings that you have around the fridge. So whether it's, if you have some tomatoes or any other veggies that you want to chop up and put on top, You could put salsa, avocado. Greek yogurt is a very underrated thing to use in recipes. I know it sounds super weird to put it on something that's a savory dish, but if you put it on a savory dish, and even if you add a little salt or garlic to it and stir it together, or lime juice, a lot of times it makes a really delicious sauce that is low fat, lower fat than sour cream, and has a good amount of protein in it as well. So it gives you that change in texture and kind of a dynamic taste, but still really heart healthy, great for glycemic control. And it's a very versatile ingredient. So I always have some Greek yogurt on hand at home. And again, this is a recipe that takes less than 30 minutes. You could cook it just for you with 1 bell pepper, take 2 bell peppers, and you've got a meal for a duo. All right, and then making your meals go a little bit further. So like I said, a lot of times it's not super exciting to just cook 1 or 2 portions at a time. So you could always double or quadruple any recipe that you see, portion them out into Tupperware containers and freeze them. A lot of times they're good in your freezer for up to 3 months. So you can just take them out the night before you want to eat it the next day, put them in your refrigerator, and then it should thaw out by the next day, or you could always throw it in the microwave or the oven and have it be just like a fresh meal all over again. Another idea that Jay actually brought up, and I've seen this happen and work really well in a lot of communities, is to start a supper club with your neighbors. So I know that's a little bit weird to do in COVID right now, but you could always, get a group of people together. If you live in an apartment complex or a neighborhood or a street, you could always get a few people together and kind of each sign up for a night in the month that you're going to cook for everybody in the group. You could always cook it up, portion it out, and drop it off at people's doorstep, or go outside. The weather's being beautiful soon, so you could always sit outside and have a little picnic or a little supper club. Maybe bring some wine, who knows, could be a nice night. And then one of my other suggestions is to cook for something called the Newton Community Fridge. So I'm assuming that a lot of you guys live in Newton. I could be wrong. You might be coming from a little further, but there are community fridges all over the place. They kind of look like this picture here. So they have a pantry side, and then they have a refrigerator that's often hooked up to a restaurant for power. If you do make a lot of one recipe, or you're like, I don't want to eat this for my entire week, you can actually portion out those servings and those meals, label them, date them, and bring them to a community fridge where you can put them there, and anybody who might need a dinner for the night can actually walk straight up to that fridge and grab food for free. Or if you receive a CSA, and there's fruits and vegetables in there that you don't really like very much, or that you don't think that you're going to use, you can bag those up and bring them to the pantry or the fridge as well. So it's a great way to, give back to the community, and also bulk up your cooking if you want to cook for more people. And this is the address that the Newton one is at, but whatever neighborhood you live in, you can always just Google community fridge in your area, and a lot of times there's one pretty close. Okay, so we'll talk about modifying some recipes. So if you are just craving something and you find a recipe for it, but it's not necessarily the most healthy thing, or it doesn't really meet your nutritional needs, there are really easy ways to kind of just swap things in and out to make it meet your needs a little bit more, depending on if you are watching your blood sugar or blood pressure or anything like that. You can kind of make it a little bit more health-minded. So one of the things that, I don't know about you guys, but I crave lasagna all the time. My mom made it a ton growing up, and so I make it all the time as well. So I found this is one of my favorite lasagna recipes, and I kind of modify it a little bit. So if you guys can see here, it has ground beef, sweet Italian sausage. What else in here? Tons of cheese, obviously, comfort food for sure. and obviously lasagna noodles. So whenever I make it, I make a few changes. So I always go for a really lean ground beef just to limit some of the fat and saturated fat that's going to be in it. I go for the chicken sausage instead of a pork or a different kind of meat sausage, because the chicken sausage is going to be more lean, have a little less fat in it. If you get tomato sauce or crushed tomatoes in a can, make sure you're getting the no sugar added, no salt added. You're going to be adding so many other herbs and spices to this dish that you're not even going to miss the salt in the canned good. When you can, try to get low fat or skim dairy products. I know you might be thinking, okay, you're taking all the fun out of lasagna here, but I promise it's still delicious and it still suits that craving a lot. And they do make whole wheat lasagna noodles as well. So if you switch those out, you're getting a ton more fiber, as well as all of the vitamins that come with whole wheat noodles. Another one, you can do it with desserts too. So banana bread is a really great one for summer whenever you have all of those old bananas that you thought you were going to eat and you just didn't quite get there. You can always make banana bread out of them. I do it like at least once a month. My eyes are bigger than my stomach when I buy bananas. So this has all-purpose flour. It's got some butter in it, of course. This one has sour cream, and then all of the other baking things, baking soda, salt, things like that. So when I make it, I actually do half all-purpose flour and half whole wheat flour. So if you use 100% whole wheat, a lot of times your baked good is going to be pretty dense. But if you do half and half, you're getting some fiber in, you're getting your whole grains in, but it's still going to be a really fluffy and delicious baked good. One of my favorite substitutions to do as well is switching out butter for applesauce. Applesauce can be used as an oil. It keeps things really moist, which is what oil is in your recipes to do when you're baking. So if you just do even half applesauce, half butter, or half oil, it's still going to be super moist. And that way you're getting a little bit more fruit in. And last but not least, you guys know that I love Greek yogurt. So instead of the sour cream, you can use Greek yogurt in baking too. That way you're getting more protein and a little less fat. Okay, and then I've linked a bunch of recipe resources for you here. So the American Heart Association has tons of recipes online. They're pretty creative. Minimalist Baker, the last three here, Minimalist Baker, Brit & Co, and Tasty all have really simple ingredient recipes that a lot of times they're less than 10 ingredients, if not about 5 ingredients, that still make really delicious meals. Those recipes that I showed you before with the 5 ingredients, one of them was from Brit & Co and one of them was from Tasty. So they make pretty creative things using things that you likely already have in your kitchen and your pantry. So just makes it a little bit easier. All right, and that is just about it. So if you guys do have any lingering questions or if there's anything that I didn't cover, please let me know, put it in the chat, and Jay and I can talk about them.
Well, that was awesome. Thank you so much. I for sure learned a ton just by observing it. If you wouldn't mind unsharing your screen, Caila, I'll be able to, yeah, great, awesome. Well, now is our interaction time. There are a couple of things that came up in the chat while you were presenting, and I encourage anyone to ask questions in the chat. If anyone has had anything that they want to share on their own, we'll be able to do that as well. Do I have a question?
Yes, I do.
Yes,
I can't have soy, and the Asian recipe, the sauce had soy in it. Is there a substitute that I can use for the soy?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Tamari is a gluten-free and soy-free option.
Tamari tea?
Yeah, Tamari. And then another thing you could use too is Bragg's, which is a brand name, Bragg, Bragg's amino acids. So those are both great substitutes for soy sauce.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
And just so everyone knows, we are going to be sharing these wonderful slides that were created for us on the website of New Community Farm. So you'll be able to download all these great slides, and we're going to be putting the video again on YouTube. So if anyone wants to rewatch any of the great content that Caila went over, you'll be able to do that as well. Jeannie, do you have a question? Is that right?
Hi. I wonder, one of the topics of discussion was considerations on aging. And we talked about healthy plate, and then we started about smart snacking. So did I miss that?
Yeah, good question. Sorry, I didn't have a specific slide for the special considerations, but I just tried to incorporate, like I said, when I sent out a survey before doing this presentation, I got a lot of responses for, different chronic conditions, top ones being blood pressure, glycemic control, loss of muscle, loss of weight. So I tried to just kind of give you some tips that would all around be good for aging. But yeah, you're right. There wasn't a specific section or slide, so you didn't miss it.
Okay. I'm also wondering, is there anything that you can recommend dietary wise for arthritis?
Arthritis. So, there aren't there's not a ton of evidence right now, unfortunately, for arthritis being treated with nutrition. But as much as I can say is just kind of going for a more anti-inflammatory diet,
Right.
which
Yeah.
I'm sure that you've read all about. But yeah, there's not really a ton of evidence for it at the moment. I would say the biggest thing that I always hear is just getting in enough fiber. That can really be a good way to reduce some inflammation in your body.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. We had a question from Judy asking if you work with private clients. If so, can she get in touch with you?
I do. So let's see. I can send out my email, and you can, of course, get in contact with me. Or we also do have an outpatient dietitian who works here at Newton-Wellesley, and they reimburse for insurance a lot of times depending on the condition. So I can send out both of those emails, and you can get in contact with us that way. Okay.
Okay, great. I'll put Caila's email in the chat if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'll please send to all. Another question that we had was if you had any more tips of someone who is a pescatarian, kind of how they could kind of get their dietary needs in.
Yeah, so obviously you're not eating meat, but fish still has all of the essential amino acids that you need. It's a complete protein. So if you're getting fish, about 2 or 3 times a week, that's awesome. Another way to get complete protein is if you are not allergic to soy, or you can have soy. Soy is a great alternative as well. Soy milk, soybeans, tofu, things like that. As well as quinoa is also a complete protein. So if you've ever used quinoa, similar to rice, it's cooked the same way, it kind of has a similar texture. You can also do that too. And those are all things that are complete proteins and have all the amino acids that you need.
All right, great. Do you have another question, Jeannie, or is
Well,
your,
actually, yeah, I was just thinking of one. It had to do with beans. Are there some beans that are better than others, or canned beans? You know, what kinds do you recommend?
Actually, all beans have a pretty similar nutrient profile. So a lot of them have a very similar amount of carbs and protein, vitamins, minerals, things like that in it. And for me, canned beans are just the easiest. I don't like waiting on the dried beans to cook. So canned beans are totally fine, just as long as you're getting the ones that are packed in water and not like a super salty brine. Yeah.
all right. Have you heard of Dr. Oz's recommendation on fasting to control weight?
Oh, this
That's
is
true.
one of the most common questions that I get. Yeah, good question. So about the fasting, are you talking about intermittent fasting? I'm assuming. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So the research that's out there right now about intermittent fasting is that a lot of times people experience short-term weight loss with it. So you might see weight loss in the first couple of months, but a lot of times people in the studies that I've seen have found that it's not a super sustainable diet. And a lot of people actually end up returning to whatever weight they were at, and oftentimes even surpassing it. So, totally there are pros and cons to it. Of course, if it's something that works with your lifestyle and it's something that you do naturally, then that's awesome. But for a lot of people, I've heard that it's just not super sustainable. So,
Yeah. And do you have any thoughts or opinions on cod liver oil, especially the lemon flavored?
I'm sure the lemon flavor really helps, especially I know that some people, it kind of like they'll burp and they'll taste some fish, and that's nobody wants that. Cod liver oil is a really great way to just get some more healthy fats in, but not super necessary if you are getting those in your diet. So if you feel like you're getting in a good amount of healthy fats through oils and nuts, seeds, things like that, it's not super necessary. But if you don't feel like you're getting enough fats, it's a really great way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, full disclosure, I actually take cod liver oil, lemon flavored.
Oh, there you go.
And I for sure feel the difference as far as like a brain boost.
Oh, okay.
In the morning.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but this
That's
is
great.
and this is my n=1 experiment. But so I like it.
Hey, everyone is different. It could definitely work. I've never tried it, so I can't give you a personal anecdote.
Yeah.
So that's a good one.
And can you share? I know that you work with populations of all age. Could you share maybe some success stories of some of your clients who are seniors, of maybe something that they were either concerned about or diagnosed with, and then what are some of the either behavioral or nutritional advice that you had that you led them through, and then kind of what their results were shortly afterwards or long-term afterwards?
Yeah, of course. So I think that one of the main things, like two of the main things that I see a lot of are diabetes and congestive heart failure. So those are two of the main things that I see oftentimes in my day-to-day. So for a lot of people, I can think of a couple in particular recently who had diabetes, and their hemoglobin A1C was kind of rising, which is not a good sign because it's telling us that it's kind of poorly managed. A lot of people are going a long time in their day without eating. So for these clients in particular, they were, maybe eating a meal or two a day. They were finding themselves, gaining weight because a lot of times they would get super hungry and end up eating a ton for dinner. And then after dinner, just because our bodies need it and they're smart and they tell us what they need. So they were gaining some weight and also eating like 1 to 2 meals a day, basically. So we kind of walked through, like I was telling you guys, we walked through some smart snacks, things to incorporate between meals, especially if they didn't feel like they had time to have a full meal. And they ended up, their hemoglobin A1C came down. So their blood sugars were being more well managed because they were eating consistently. And they actually saw that they were more satisfied with their food as well. So they ended up having some weight loss more as a secondary effect. It wasn't really a goal of ours. We were more so, you know, concerned about their blood sugars. So that's a kind of a common story, but that was a recent one.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very inspiring. You know, I for sure, I know we still have a number of folks that are on here, and you know, I loved, you know, your idea of creating, you know, varying levels of like separate clubs or like, you know, community events where, you know, folks could like get together and, you know, safely, of course. You know, so I encourage anyone who is on here, you know, if you wanted to, you know, let other people know that, you know, that's something that you're interested in, you know, feel free to, you know, share your contact information amongst yourselves and, you know, organize, you know, whatever is appropriate for any type of, you know, dining and community experience that, you know, you have, if that's an idea that anyone wanted to take on. So I'm just putting it out there as we kind of wrap up here. If anyone wants to put their information in the chat, you know, feel free to do so. Yeah, so another person, maybe the farm can put a cooking series together at some point. Yes, actually we do have had something in the past at the farm where we would send out a recipe book that folks could use to, you know, find varying levels of recipes that inspire them and kind of create a kind of like a potluck dinner for us, you know, at the farm. So you either brought a dish or you paid, you know, $10, so you kind of covered your like own food cost. So that is definitely something that we've done and we hope to do again in the near future. Yeah, recipe book is awesome. Again, like you could check out some of our resources on YouTube. You know, I try to educate folks on a specific vegetable that we grow at the farm or have access to at the farm. You know, what the nutritional benefits are, and then kind of do a recipe demo. So, you know, feel free to use that as one of your resources as well. Okay, recipes would be awesome. Yeah, so again, like I think Caila has all of those recipes that are on her presentation. So when you download that deck from the website, be sure to reference all of the things that, you know, she shared. I'm going to for sure look at those 5 recipes or less, you know, for like my own inspiration. You're getting lots of acknowledgments and thank yous for all for all your information. So yeah, this has been great. Okay, so we are going to end. Caila, thank you so much for all of your expertise, your knowledge, your wisdom that you were able to share with our community. It has been very, very, very helpful. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you guys for giving me the opportunity. It was very fun.
Yeah, awesome.
Thank you.
And then what's the name of your practice, if you had one, or just going through the hospital?
Yeah, so again, if you have insurance and you can be reimbursed in that way, I would go through the hospital. It's going to be just Newton-Wellesley Outpatient Nutrition. You can Google that, and you know, you'll find our homepage and you can call there. Otherwise, you can Google my name, and I have a website that you can take a look at as well. Unfortunately, not accepting insurance though, so you know, whichever is going to be best for you.
Great. Well, have a good rest of your day, everyone. It's going to be beautiful out today, so you know, get that vitamin D.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Bye,
everyone.
everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.